Hi and welcome. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about why chasing after, the certain body or even trying to control food or your emotional eating is going to lead you further away from actually resolving your emotional eating. I wanted to talk about this and sort of sink into this because a lot of the times what we are wanting and craving and chasing after, it is almost in this obsessive way, this craving way. And when we have that sort of, I need to do this, we're constantly obsessing, we are sort of in this craving, adrenalized state, it means we are not connected. And when we reach that thing we think we want out of this state, we're not going to feel any better because the way we've been going about it is in this craving way. And so this is something that is kind of hard to grasp. I see this with women all the time where they're like, no, I'm doing, I want to be healthy. I want to eat the right foods. I don't need to lose the weight. I don't need to look a certain way. And it's almost like they're saying the right thing out of their mouth, but their energy behind it, their emotions behind it are telling me a different story. And when I see this, I know that they're not embodied. There's something else running the show. This craving part of them, this lack part of them, this unhealed part of them is running the show. And, it's hard to tangibly put, kind of touch into it. You have to almost feel the alignment or the integrity of someone. And so what's happening is that they say all these amazing, beautiful things, but it's almost like this part of them that's in fear is really running the show. This part of them that feels like if they don't look that certain way or they don't lose the weight, if they don't have that tangible result, they're not going to get what they want. And if we're being really honest with ourselves, what we want out of all of this is to feel loved and validated and accepted and have our deeper needs met. But the way we're going about it is we think if we look a certain way, we act a certain way, we're going to get those needs met. And, with emotional eating, this all comes under that pattern. When we're emotionally eating, it's like in those moments when stress takes over or we're in our pattern, a craving takes over, we just want things to feel okay. So there's so many layers happening. Part of us wants to have that body, and so we'll restrict and restrict until we can no longer take it, and then we will binge and emotionally eat, and we don't know what it feels like to be in that middle, to have that peace and that ease and that balance. And this doesn't mean that we don't have to put in some effort or take the right action steps, but we just know the extremities, the extremes of, either restricting or binging. And this is very black or white thinking. And so whenever I share that emotional eating is a coping mechanism, it is something we develop to help us feel okay, to help us, sort of numb out of discomfort, to not have to deal with the stress because we didn't know how to. So we had to cope and we use food to cope. This pattern develops in childhood. And when we're children, we're very young, we do really think in black or white. Things are in extremities. And if we're not modeled by our parents or caregivers, how to move through our discomfort, uncomfortable emotions, how to regulate ourselves, if they're not able to hold that physical container for us, not just model it to us, but hold that space for us, we don't learn how to move through this. And we have to figure out in this black and white thinking and these extremities, what do we do? And because we weren't given this sort of emotional development, that sticks with us. And it's almost like it prevents our full development. So our brain is constantly in this black or white thinking. So we're almost still thinking like children as we grow. And then we're adding in, our society loves the diets or the exercise. It's very black or white. It's this or that. If I do this, I'll get that. But that's not how it actually works. There's so much gray in the middle. There's so much nuance around food and our body and how these associations are formed that it's a coping mechanism. It's not just willpower your way through and you're going to get there. There are nuances to this, and we need to start understanding that, and I'm not trying to make this complex, but it's to give you an awareness that this pattern is multi-layered. Yes, we want simple solutions and the steps can be very simple, but we need to understand that this pattern, especially when we feel out of control and like everything we're doing isn't working, it's not necessarily something's wrong with you. It's the way the pattern is described. It's the way it's shared with you. It's the understanding of how it developed. And so what I want to bring you into is noticing that when you feel out of control and you've spent, decades doing the same thing, like today I'm going to have willpower. Today I'm going to have willpower. There's something more going on, and you need to be taking the steps that are actually hitting into that ingrained sort of pattern at deeper levels, so that you can shift. So I'm going to share with you the overview of what we want to shift into. So understanding that emotional eating is a coping mechanism and that it impacts not only just our relationship to food, but our relationship to our body and to our emotions. It's all mixed in. So we're using food to soothe ourselves from uncomfortable emotions. So we didn't know how to be with emotions. And now we use food in this unhealthy way. So we don't know how to be with food. And we also think that we've been ingrained that if we look a certain way, we're going to be accepted and validated. But because we have this unhealthy relationship to food and we haven't been taught how to move through our emotions and our discomfort, and there's a lot of trauma there, the physical result is going to be a body that is in a more fight or flight nervous system. It's going to be turned on for stress, weight gain, inflammatory conditions, chronic issues. This is the body. So our body, when we're younger, we can sort of maintain that stress for a bit longer, and our body physically can maybe help us stay healthy because we have age on our side. But as the pattern develops and takes over, now we have these ingrained patterns and it starts taking a toll physically on our body. But it didn't essentially start physically. It started from a more developmental space, psychologically, mentally, emotionally. And now we have the physical manifestations because everything's interconnected. And so through this coping mechanism, it means that our relationship to our emotions are dysfunctional, our relationship to food is dysfunctional, and our relationship to our body is dysfunctional. And look around at our world. There is not a lot of healthy examples of how to be with food, your body, your emotions, and you wouldn't have learned that from your parents or caregivers. We don't have that in our society. We have schools that tell us when we can eat, when we can go to the bathroom, how we should be. So nothing is modeled because there's such a fear around what is natural to us, because we think that if we were to actually be ourselves, somehow we would just be at these extremities. Again, it's black or white thinking. So if you're allowed to have your emotions, you're just going to hysterically be crying on the side of the road. No, that happens when you suppress for so long. We need a better way. We need to shift, and we need to understand that healthy is not on the extremities. It's in the middle. It's in a more balanced and harmonious place. And so if we go back to the way you deal with your emotional eating, if you're in the extremes of restriction versus binging, you over-exercise or you don't do it at all, you just let yourself cry and cry for hours and then you just nope, zip it up. These are at extremities. They're not harmonious and balanced. And so it feels like you'll always be out of control no matter which side you take, because you don't know what it feels like to just be in the middle. And that's where ease and peace lives. The other extremities are still in fight or flight. So how do we do this? This is a process. And so we need to start learning on one level a new way of being that is in connection to us, in connection to our body, in connection to food, in connection to our emotions, to actually sink into the fact that we take in food and interact with it. We have a body that when it's in balance is a certain way when we meet those needs. And our emotions are vital information helping us move through life. It's not that we need to push away emotions, because when we push away our emotions and our discomfort, we create coping mechanisms to deal with that discomfort, because that discomfort is trying to give us information. And when we ignore it or avoid it, we can't access it. When we're not connected to food, we're going to make choices that don't connect with our body. So we're going to buy into, and we're going to connect in with the emotional eating pattern and eat whatever we want, not knowing that maybe this food doesn't feel good for us. It doesn't mean we're restricting ourselves. It means we're actually caring for our body. Or that, are we really exercising and working out to be healthy? Or are we pushing past our limits and thinking we're being healthy, but it's really, I got those steps in, I got that workout in, I'm going to lose that weight, and deeper down, I'm going to finally be accepted and validated, because we haven't really looked at the deeper root issues. So these are some of the things that are going on with this pattern. And how do we shift it? It's a process, but we need to start looking at how do we connect with food? We need to be connecting to food, truly nourishing our body, connecting to our hunger cues, connecting to how food feels in our body, feeling how food satisfies us, how it digests in our body. These are all going to be indicators of how food is feeling to us. And from there, we can start seeing where are we triggered into emotional eating? Where are we then using food to soothe ourselves? With our body, we're checking in with what feels good for our body. Sometimes when we are sedentary for the whole day, we think I don't want to do something. I don't want to move my body, but the body needs movement. The body is meant to move. And when we start doing that, we start feeling the difference. It starts feeling good. Our body is designed to give us feedback. It feels good when I move. Maybe not to extremities, but in a certain way, and I can build up capacity. How much sleep do I need? Do I see patterns getting out of control? Do I feel shame? Am I spiraling into more emotional eating if I'm not rested, or if I'm not connecting with my body or doing the movement that feels good to my body, when I'm shaming myself and criticizing myself? And then around our emotions, are we able to deeply be with ourselves, not just going to therapy and talking about this happened and just intellectualizing everything? How do we use our awareness to go deeper into the body where we're holding emotion and not releasing it and processing and integrating it? It needs to be connected on all levels, not just talking and talking. When we talk, we're talking from our conscious mind, which is only 5%, our subconscious 95%, which is running the show. We don't access it. And so our dysfunctional patterns and great patterns and the patterns we want, they're all living in there. And so if we want to shift something that takes us over automatically, we need to get to those deeper levels. We need to move through our emotions. We need to find ways to, access them without spending years talking about it. We don't have time to spend years talking about the same issue over and over again. There's no growth there. We need to go deeper. We need to access it and be doing this work daily. We're a human experiencing multiple things day in and day out. Within the day, we're interacting with different people. Our emotions are giving us feedback on a moment-to-moment basis. It's giving us information about our environment. It's giving us information about our triggers. The more we can move through that in a moment-to-moment basis, and this is something we work up to, the more we can move with life and the ups and downs of life and pivot with life and know when we need more time to be with certain things and give ourselves that space so that we're not just jumping to food. We're not jumping to the next thing. We're not distracting ourselves. And this actually creates more efficiency. This actually helps you move forward in alignment with what you want, because more of your energy is going to be focused. You can go after your goals and feel at ease in your body and at peace around food. That doesn't become the dialogue in your head all day. You're actually moving towards what you desire. And that is worth the initial effort and the ongoing day-to-day things you have to do because it feels good. It's actually liberating you. It's actually making you feel good. You're not chasing a dangling carrot stick with the next diet and the next thing. You're creating a foundation for yourself, something that you probably didn't have. And when you create a solid foundation, you can build. I've had clients that build their foundation on sand. They reach the weight. They do the marathon and get the weight, and they do the workout and all of these things. And then it's built on sand. There's nothing there to move them forward. There's no internal motivation. There's no alignment and no connection to what they really want. So this all boils down to shifting the way we look at food, our body, and our emotions, from it being a dangling carrot that we think is going to help us meet our needs to something that is deeper than that. We need to go deeper and meet our true needs and then start relating to these areas in a healthier way. And that's going to help us move forward. That's going to unstick us. Because right now it's so, it's all jumbled together. And so we need this new way to move forward. And it's going to give you so much more clarity and peace and ease. So if you are resonating with what I'm saying, I would love to invite you to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution Program. So this is my step-by-step methodology where we shift to a healthier relationship to food, our body, and our emotions. And we do the deeper work to unstick ourselves so that we can finally resolve our emotional eating from the root. This is where it opens up space where you feel at ease in your body and around food, and you can go after your goals. It's no longer this obsessive thought loop in your head. So if you'd like to find out more about that program, you can check out more at the link below. It's a 12-week container with weekly coaching. There is in-depth somatic meditations, accountability, and support and community to help you move through this pattern and finally get to the root while creating a really healthy structure around these areas. So that would be the next step. You can find out more about the program. And if you have any questions for me, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And I look forward to sharing more with you. And I hope you have a great day.